So, what if you could tackle some of the biggest challenges facing rural Asia? We're talking everything from poverty to climate change with one single elegant system. Well, that's the massive ambition behind something called Greenloop 3.0. It's really a blueprint for a complete rural transformation, built on ideas like the FAO's Four Betters, aiming for not just better crops, but a better life, a better environment, the whole shebang.
Okay, so why do we even need such a radical redesign? It really boils down to this concept of a double burden. Imagine this. You're a farmer, and you're getting hit from two sides. First, you're on the front lines of climate change, dealing with droughts, floods, you name it. And at the exact same time, you're locked out of the very economic systems that could help you survive. It's a vicious cycle, and traditional farming just can't break it.
All right, so here's how we're going to break this all down. First, we're going to get a really clear picture of that double burden. Then we'll introduce Greenloop 3.0 and dive into its really cool three-layer architecture. That's the secret sauce. And finally, we'll zoom out and look at the huge vision for scaling this thing across 15 different nations.
So let's get specific. Let's put some actual numbers and real-world problems to these challenges. What exactly are the crises that make an innovation like Greenloop so critical right now?
Let's start with the people. Look at this number, over 34%. In a country like Bangladesh, that's the percentage of young people who are considered NEET, not in education, employment, or training. That is a massive amount of lost potential, and it's driving young people away from their rural homes, leaving farms without a next generation to take over.
And for the people who do stay and farm, the system is often stacked against them. This chart is incredible. It shows just how much potential income is lost before it even gets to the farmer. You see these inorganic value leaks? That's a polite way of saying things like fraud or subsidies getting diverted. But look at this huge slice, distressed sales. That's when farmers, desperate and without other options, are forced to sell their crops for way, way less than they're worth. It's a cycle of hard work for very little reward.
The root cause of so many of these issues is this really outdated way of thinking, a linear model. You grow something, you use it, and you throw away the waste. This just depletes the soil and makes you totally dependent on chemical fertilizers. The future, and the core idea of Greenloop, is this circular or closed-loop system where nothing is wasted. Waste from one process literally becomes fuel for the next.
Okay, so we have these deep, tangled problems. So what's the solution? Well, this is where Greenloop 3.0 steps onto the stage.
So here's the big idea. Greenloop 3.0 isn't just a new farming app or some piece of equipment. It's what's called a socio-technical system. Now, I know that sounds like a mouthful, but it's basically a fancy way of saying it combines two worlds, the natural world of farming, the bioeconomy, with the super modern digital world built on blockchain. The goal is to fix the farm and the financial system around it, all at once.
And this quote, I think, just perfectly captures the spirit of the whole project. It's about connecting this one big innovation directly to a very human impact, countless smiles. It all ties back to those FAO Four Betters we talked about: better production, better nutrition, a better environment, and ultimately a better life. The tech is just the tool to get to that very human end goal.
Okay, so how does this thing actually work? The real beauty of Greenloop is in its architecture. It's all broken down into 3 layers that are separate but totally connected. Let's dig into them. Everything is built on these 3 layers. First, you've got the physical layer. That's the farm itself, but reimagined as this self-sustaining biological engine. Then, holding it all together is the digital layer, which is basically a ledger of trust, using blockchain to make everything transparent. And on top, you have the intelligence layer, the AI-powered brain that makes the whole system smart. Let's look at each one.
So let's start at the ground level with the physical layer. One of the key innovations here is this special irrigation technique called 3F 4D plus MD. Now, don't worry about the acronym. What you need to know is what it does. By changing how you water the fields, alternating between flooding and drying, it does 2 absolutely incredible things. It cuts water use by more than half, and it actually stops the rice from soaking up as much naturally occurring arsenic from the soil. So it's a huge win for saving water and for making food safer.
Next up, we have the digital layer, which they call Efficiency 3.0. You can think of this as the trust engine for the whole system. Farmers get these smart cards, which act like a digital ID that tracks their farm's health and builds a real credit history. And you know those old paper vouchers for government subsidies that are so easy to misuse? They get replaced with secure blockchain e-bills, which just wipes out fraud. It's all about building a transparent and trustworthy digital backbone.
So how does all this tech work without being super slow and expensive? Well, it uses this really clever hybrid approach. As you can see, most of the day-to-day data, like soil health records, is stored off-chain in a normal, fast database. But, and this is the key, the really important stuff, the moments where you need absolute trust, like a subsidy payment, that gets recorded on-chain. This creates a permanent, unhackable record, giving everyone total confidence in the system.
And finally, we get to the third layer, the one that ties it all together. This is the brain of the whole operation. It uses data from sensors on the ground, crunches it with AI, and gives farmers personalized, real-time advice. It's like having an expert agricultural consultant right in your pocket, telling you exactly how much fertilizer to use or helping you spot pests early.
So here's what's so crucial to understand. This isn't just a cool idea for one little village. The entire system has been designed from day one to be scalable, and I mean massively scalable. The whole framework is being built to work across the 15 member countries of CIRDAP. And just look at this list. It's an incredibly diverse region, stretching all the way from Afghanistan to Fiji in the Pacific. That's why the technology has to be flexible enough to adapt to all these different climates, crops, and cultures.
And they have a clear roadmap to make this happen. It kicks off in 2026 with a pilot phase of 500 farmers to get everything just right. From there, it scales up to the national level by 2028. But the ultimate goal, the vision for 2030, is to have over 500,000 farmers on the platform and to build entire smart agri-towns based on these principles.
So, after all that, the tech, the layers, the big plans, what's the end game? What does success actually look like here? And why does any of this really matter? Well, this chart just lays out the concrete benefits beautifully. We are talking about a 40% drop in a farmer's operating costs. That's huge. Water use for irrigation gets cut by more than half. And get this, each farming unit actually pulls 3,500 kilograms of CO2 out of the atmosphere. So it's a win for the farmer's bank account and a massive win for the planet. This quote really gets to the heart of it. This is about a complete shift in mindset. It's about seeing waste not as something to throw away, but as something you can transform into wealth. And seeing marginalization not as some fixed reality, but as a problem you can solve with digital inclusion. It's about turning the problems themselves into the fuel for the solutions.
Because in the end, this isn't really about the technology. It's about what that technology makes possible for people. The real goal here is to empower a whole new generation of what they're calling Agri-Entrepreneurs. It's about changing their status from just laborers to tech-savvy business owners who are in control of their own futures.
And that really leaves us with this final big question. We've seen how Greenloop 3.0 weaves together biology, blockchain, and AI into one system. So could this be it? Could this be the blueprint we've been looking for to build a truly sustainable and prosperous future for rural communities, not just in Asia, but all around the world?